It's 6 o'clock. We'll call to order the regular city council meeting for Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. No Pastor Steve. Bob James, would you lead us in prayer?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we come to you tonight with open arms, and Lord, we just thank you for the country we live in, and Lord, that we're able to meet and gather. And Lord, we just ask tonight that you give us wisdom to make decisions and or discussions, Lord. And Lord, we thank you for all the people that are here. And Lord, we just ask for safety and tonight and tomorrow during the supposed snowstorm. And Lord, just watch over us and bless us in Jesus' name. Amen.
If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Page roll call.
Rothschild.
Here.
Kennett.
Here.
Swanson. Barnhart. Roothouse.
Here.
James.
Here.
Samowski. Here. Arnold.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Moving on the agenda to item number 4, public comments related to agenda items. City ordinance allows members of the public to speak and give input up to 3 minutes. During public comment, there can be no debate or action by the city council at this time. Any members of our large public tonight who wish to make a statement? Okay. Moving on, item number 5 would be mayor's comments. Tonight, I have the honor of reading a proclamation. This would be to celebrate 40 years of dedicated service by Angie Snook to the Geneseo Historical Museum. Whereas Angie Snook has selflessly dedicated over 40 years of service to the Geneseo Historical Museum by enriching the lives of countless individuals and families through her tireless efforts to preserve and showcase our community's rich history. And whereas under Angie Snook's leadership, the museum has flourished, offering engaging exhibits, educational programs, and community events that have fostered a deeper appreciation of our shared heritage. And whereas Angie's commitment to excellence, passion for history, and devotion to the community have earned her the respect and admiration of colleagues, volunteers, and visitors alike. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Sean Johnson, do hereby proclaim February 14th, 2025, Angie Snook Appreciation Day in recognition of her contributions to our community's cultural and historical landscape. Congratulations. Please accept this to honor your service. Congratulations.
Do I get 3 minutes?
Of course.
Good luck. Anyway, since I was a teacher for 22 years, I have 2 boys.
You want to come up to this mic here? Front and center.
Do that. Anyway, I have lots of thank yous. Thank you for all those kind words. I have to say, it was never work for me. It's something I love doing, much that I have family members here will attest to from the time they were young till they've grown up, and my daughter will be retiring after next year. So they spent a lot of time at the museum and a lot of time listening to me. Keith, thank you for all the work, and I'm not going to cry tonight like I did at the museum. I promise to do that. Our city board, our city council, and to also my family who's been so patient with me. I have a big thank you to Clyde Walters. Anybody in here remember Clyde Walters? Well, Clyde Walters was an icon in our community, and he decided 53 years ago in 1972 that we needed a Geneseo Historical Museum, and we also needed a Geneseo Historical Association. So he went to our park board and he begged them, and he literally begged them, could we have 2 rooms in the caretaker's house at Richmond Hill? So they said, okay, we'll give it a try. Well, it flourished so well in 2.5 years, they were busting at the seams. So in 1975, the old Hammond Library became empty because we were moving into the next door library. And so we stayed there 20 plus years. And Don Stocks was our curator, and I was the president of the Historical Association. Well, we lost our lease with them, and we were bursting at the seams again. So I can't believe this. It was 29 years ago we purchased the present museum we're in. I don't know where those years have gone. November 1st of 1996, we purchased the house from Rosalie Thede. And she came and visited the house and came to every Christmas walk until she was 100 years old. No one knew who she was, but her biggest joy was to sit there and say, isn't it wonderful? They just think this house is beautiful. She listened to all the compliments, which I thought was really great. All right, we opened our first doors for Christmas Walk in 1997. We had over 2,500 visitors. I got written up by our fire department because, first of all, I had a live tree. Nobody told me that. Not only that, we had the first and second floors open, expecting to maybe have 100 people show up or so, never expecting 2,500 people roaming through that whole museum. And we really didn't have fire exits marked, so I deserved it. By June 1st of 1998, I had been a teacher for 22 years. I may have had some of your students. I gave up teaching and I took the curator director's job. I have been at it for over 27 years now. I finally got to use my degree in art. Before that, I used my degree in early childhood and child psychology, which I loved that job. I cried so hard when I had to leave my teaching job. They told me I couldn't drive home. And it wasn't much better the 3 times I've left the museum either. So 46 years I've been involved in the museum. The best part of it was that I had so many wonderful board members, volunteers, people in the community to help me. The museum would not be what it is today if it hadn't been for all the special people in our museum family. They worked together to build that treasure that we have sitting on the corner. The thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have visited through school tours, bus tours, homeschool tours, people off the streets from all over. We have them all over the world. Our biggest year was 14,000 visitors to our little museum. And that was unbelievable. We had wonderful volunteers, Don Meyer, Dick Farber, Franny Cataline, Hayden's Hikers, Wally Wiedenheft, Dick Douglas, many other men. But these were the top ones that were there every day. We had over 60 volunteers. I had to look for jobs for them to do. We have to thank also the Zimmerman family because they donated the bust of Abraham Lincoln. They outbid the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois and were able to get the Abraham Lincoln sculpture. And Franny Cataline, when I was still teaching, we had till June 1st to get that out. The week before school was out, through the parking lot in front of my classroom windows, here comes Abe laying on the back of a truck. They had gotten him. Don Meyer, as many of you know, because he was very active in the city as well, designed that park, and it was wonderful. The Walk and Talk ladies, and Edie Douglas and Linda Flatt and so many other people. I think Melanie and Amy were in on this one too. Dwayne Abbott's wife, Joni, was dying of a brain tumor. So he left us $35,000 donation so that we could have a memory garden with Joni in honor first and all the other people who wanted to join them. He hired Meyer Landscaping, and everybody worked together to build that wonderful memory garden we have in the back. Les Dees was on board and said, you need a pergola. So he also built us a pergola. Les and Jean Stees became very involved in the museum as well. And he thought, we have it too crowded in our little red library. So you need a room. You need a room to entertain all these ladies and all these guests that come. So he said, I'm going to take it to the board. What do you think? And I said, oh, Les, I don't know. I don't want this to look like some lean-to on this beautiful building. He said, well, you can think about it, but don't think about it too much. So I asked my daughter, Amy, what do you think? And she goes, have you ever not liked anything Les built? I went, okay, you're right. So he brought it up at the board meeting that night. It passed unanimously. And the next morning when I drove into work, he had his backhoe and the basement was already dug. So I had no choice there as well. The elevator. This is another experience that I will never forget because the elevator was, we were a year in and we didn't meet the ADA requirements. These are things that preschool teachers don't know about. And so I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? Well, Bill Sherrard came in one day and I've known him since I was 3 years old. Well, Angie, give me a tour of the museum. Maybe there's something I might like to do. I could do something for you. So we walked through the museum. We went down to the basement. We went up to the second story. And the next morning I got a phone call. It was from Mabel Brown, our attorney and also board member. She said, I have a gentleman waiting for you in my office, and he would like to talk to you, in her lawyer voice. Could you come down right now? And I said, yes, I can. So I got down there, and here's sitting Bill Sherrard. And he said, well, I just thought about what you were telling me about your problem with the ADA. I think, well, I'll give you an elevator, but it needs to go from the basement up to the second floor. I have $200,000. If you can figure out a way that I can write it off my taxes for the next 3 years. See, I'm really a lucky lady. And I didn't know how to do it, but Mabel looked at me and she said, you'll do it. And I did. I have to go back one more step because we talked about building the carriage house in 2014 a little bit. And Les Dees and Jean and all the carpenters that had retired in Geneseo all decided they were going to come in on this deal. And I looked over by the trees one day and I thought they're going to have a fight because you can't put all the Geneseo contractors together in one spot and tell each other how to do it. Anyway, the property prior to that was for sale. And I went to the board and said, okay, we got to buy this. We're never going to have this opportunity again. We have to do this. And so I said to the board, now remember, this is 2013. It wasn't that long ago. Don Meyer said to me, well, Angie, if you can buy it for $39,900, we'll do it. So I put in the bid. It was Sally Mae, Freddie Mac out of Kewanee. And we sat on it October and November. And the realtor called me and said, well, the people decided now that they're going to not accept any of the offers and they're going to take it off the market and replace it on the market December 1st. And so then she called me back. Well, do you want to leave your bid of $39,900 on it? And I said, that's all I can do because we don't have a board meeting. So at that time, I thought, well, we're not going to get it. December 1st came, December 2nd came, December 3rd came. I thought, oh, well, it's gone. The realtor calls me from Sally Mae, Freddie Mac and says, Angie, you just bought a house. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? The board has not okayed this. Mel, do we have $39,900 if we have to pay for this? So it's kind of just one of those fun stories as well that I wanted to throw out there. Then my first grant was an Illinois First grant. I know everybody in here knows what it's like to apply for your first government grant. We needed to have the house repainted, and it had lead-based paint, and it was peeling. You'll remember this, Keith. And so I thought, oh, how are we going to pay for this? We just bought this place 2 years ago. We got to start in on this. So I started with the grant, the Illinois First grant, wanted $50,000. So I went to the board and said, how are we going to do this? Well, Dale Lodge said he would go out and he would get signatures, which he did. Then as I got to the end of all the paperwork, I had to have a senator sign it and write a note that we were going to do this. Luckily, we had Senator Todd Sieben, who's a friend of my husband's and mine, went to Todd and he said, sure, I'll do that. And that was our first big grant, which probably everybody in Geneseo could hear us screaming when we got it. I just have a couple more short stories, and I have to tell these because these are my family stories. My husband, after Butler Bob died, we were in Scottsdale, and I looked over, and here's Mel, of all people, a coach who's never had this type of opportunity. He decided he was going to be Butler Mel, and he has a top hat and a tux coat he's buying at this antique shop. So I knew I had a new Butler Bob. And then my son, Andy, he was 5 or 6 at the time, and I would put him in his little red wagon, drag him up to the museum, screaming and yelling. I wasn't beating him, I promise. Anyway, I finally said, why do you hate coming up here so much? When you get here, you have a good time. He goes, because it smells like mothballs. And every time I go to school, I couldn't get the mothball smell out of his hair. And everybody would say, oh, you were with your mom at the museum. Then my granddaughter, Erin, she was at every Christmas walk in a scene since she was 5 months old till she was 17, her senior year. And later on, while she was in school, the Wolf Girls and Hannah Rakestraw and her had some of the best exhibits for Christmas Walk I have ever seen. I've been involved with Christmas Walk from day one, and I feel so good about that because I got to get involved with Linda Kasunas and Judy Deutsch, Laura Favor, Rose Claire, and they taught me so much. And the first night we moved into the museum, after we moved into the old museum across the street, the Hammond Museum, we had live candles everywhere, expecting maybe 20 people to show up. And we had over 200. And we realized what a big deal this was going to be. Another story I have to tell you about is Bill Sherrard again. And this is important to me because we still apply for the Sherrard Foundation grant, and I wrote the last one with Melanie, and they have been very generous. We could not keep our doors open if we had not gotten these grants. There was a little boy I had in preschool who has always had something to say and always the last word. And his 3rd grade class was coming through the museum, and we had something called a bustle chair, and the arms go around. It has a rather large seat, and I had a special dress made so they could see what it looked like, a bustle. So I had a big bow in the back in my bustle. You would all know this man now today. I asked him what the chair was, and nobody knew. I said, well, it's a bustle chair. What do you think, Mrs. Snook? I turned around, this is. And this little boy said, well, Mrs. Snook, it's your butt. And Bill Sherrard was standing there watching. They had no children. His wife was a teacher. He started laughing so hard he had to run out of the museum. And I didn't know whether to be sad, mad, or happy. Another lady that helped until she was 92 years old, I would go over to Good Samaritan, pick her up and drop her off, Bee Welsh, and she would do our Past Perfect program on the computer and catalog all our artifacts. I have one rumor I want to squish tonight because I've had several people say this to me. Why don't you want to be at the museum anymore? Why aren't you there? I don't know how it started, but I want you to know they're wrong. My family finally told me after my 3rd time retiring, you absolutely cannot go to that museum unless you were asked by Melanie or someone from the board. And I've done pretty good at that. I really tried hard and I've done quite well. And they are right. I love it so much and I'm very attached to it. It breaks my heart. When I started this, I was a young woman. I didn't realize, a middle-aged woman. I had 27 years. Today, I still feel like that 48-year-old woman and wishing I still had 27 years. I'm going to cry. But I want to thank everyone here. I want to thank everybody on our board, past and present. I want to thank the city of Geneseo, who has been so supportive of us. Most of all to my family for putting up with this and all the time. My husband was retired 20 years, 21 or 20 now, before I did, to let me follow my dream. The third time's a charm. This is my third time to retire at the museum. I feel very good about it. It's a time for somebody else to take over, for me to turn it over. We have a wonderful new director, Melanie Rice, and we have a super board that is very supportive of everything that happens at the museum. When I leave the museum now, it is financially stable and it's structurally in great shape, and it will be there for years to come. I thank you very humbly and very graciously, very sincerely for the award that you gave me tonight. It wasn't necessary because luckily I've always loved what I've done. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, it was a good 3 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, moving on the agenda, city council comments. Any members of the council?
One thing, and I don't know if Chief is here or not, but I'll share this real quick. But at McDonald's last week with my grandson, we have grandpa lunch day once a week. And an acquaintance of mine was in there with some of his friends, and they were having a meal and what have you. But my acquaintance, though, has been struggling with some things and having some psychological issues and what have you. And while in the restaurant, he lost track of just where he was and went into kind of a panic mode. And you could see this was genuine fear, not knowing where he's at. And so we're trying to keep him calm and what have you. But somebody thought to call the police. And who shows up first but Officer Shoemaker. And as you know, we've had our dementia unit and kind of a focus on mental health needs and what have you. She came in, immediately took control of the situation, calmed the man down. You could tell she had training and knew exactly how to react to it. Officer Weiser showed up. I think Officer Sleaford may have shown up too. But I guess I just want to say that it was good to see something that we kind of support and create. It was Chief's idea and what have you, but to actually see it in action and to where it actually made a positive difference in a situation to where this could have, gone probably a little bit more negative and what have you. So just want to share that it was, sometimes we don't get to see directly the results of stuff that we support, but I had the privilege of seeing it. And so hats off to the police department and everybody that put this program in place.
Any other members of the council? Okay, Brandon, city administrator comments.
Just a few quick comments. Just a reminder to everybody on council to make sure to get your feedback to Paige before 2/21 for the chief and I's performance reviews, which we will do at the 2/25 meeting. Lauren is not here tonight. The engineering report will take place at the 2/25 meeting as well. He's planning on coming with a design discussion on options for the Chicago Street Pathway project as well that night. So we'll do that at the COW. And then just a reminder that tonight, the format's going to look a little bit different on the capital projects department update summary. May recall we talked about this, that we changed the formatting to be a little bit more user-friendly. We still think it's important to give you guys a full list of the projects that we have on the docket for this year and things that are ongoing. Made it a little bit more user-friendly to read on the screen. And the department heads will give a brief description of the things that are on that report tonight. And then moving forward at city council meetings, they'll touch on projects where there are status updates or things to talk about on that report. So that's it.
Okay, moving on the agenda, item number 8 would be the finance director comments. 8.1, the treasurer's report and capital assets report as submitted.
Right. So the first month, obviously, there's not a ton that goes on, but we did have all of our bond payments and police pension payment that went out. So we did see a big chunk of change leave to make those payments. Any questions on the budget book? Next is the treasurer's report. Again, there's not a whole lot of movement so far. I did do all the transfers from the general fund into the sub funds for the general fund. So it does look like the expenses are significant over the revenues, and that's just because those transfers were considered an expense to revenue the other departments. Sure.
So on this, I always try and put, there's quite a difference, so it's probably on the front part. So ending should be the beginning. So what's the difference?
So we backdate invoices into the previous year up until February 15th.
So that's what
Mhm. Yeah. And then after February 15th, what will happen is once the auditor does their audit work, they may book some of the project stuff back into it.
that's what the big change.
Any other questions? All right, next is the capital asset sheet. Again, there's just the new projects on here. It does show if it's a carryover item, which will be voted on later on in the meeting. There really isn't anything on here. You'll see that kind of trickle in as this meeting and the next few meetings go on. But next is the capital asset department update sheet. You'll notice a big difference no longer being a spreadsheet. And the department heads will take on, just like they normally do, give a department update.
For this year, the Richmond Hill Underground project, we have some bad primary wire in that area. It's all direct bury. And we have Hartco lined up to do the bore here probably early spring. They'll put the duct in and we will get the loop back in the Richmond Hill area. Right now, it is split right there in the middle where the primary is bad. So that's one of them. North State Street Underground Project Phase 1 for the electric. The drawings for underground have been sent to MediaCom. We will be working with MediaCom on this project because they also have to get off the poles. So we will work with them, line up a contractor, and probably start that project late spring.
So why are they getting off the poles?
So North State Street, when we go to do the phase 2 of North State Street, the poles sit right on the curb line. So we have to actually move them. So this is a good opportunity for us to actually put it underground. Power plant window replacement. We've been doing window replacement the last 2 years. The windows are old. Some of them are original. Yeah, they're all single pane. We have 4 more windows to replace. They'll replace those. The power plant battery bank replacement. So we have a battery bank that is downstairs in the power plant that powers our relays, our switching, and everything. They have a 20-year life expectancy on them. We've hit that. So we will be replacing that. That's like when we lose power, that's what we rely on the most. And then Unit 2 overhaul phase 2. We will start purchasing parts for this here late spring. The overhaul does cost quite a bit. We broke it up into multiple phases so that we can get parts on hand. Some of them have long lead times so that we can get parts here. So when we start the overhaul, we're not waiting on them. Stewart Street substation relay replacement. We are replacing the 2004 Basler relays and putting Basler flex relays in. This does give us the opportunity to do some new protection schemes that the old ones don't allow. It also gives us more information on when we have trips or a fault that the operator can see it immediately and not have to send someone down there to see what's actually going on. They are also outdated. They're obsolete. There's not many computers you see sitting around from 2004. That's basically what it is. Carryover project SCADA update, upgrade. We are still working on that. We're working on, the PLCs are ready to be transferred over. The screens are done. Some of the trending isn't what we want to see. It's not reacting fast enough, and we are still having issues with communicating to our reclosures, which hopefully with a new gateway, this will solve that problem. So hopefully that the SCADA system, that is where all our data and our control inside the power plant actually comes in. So when we do reports and everything, it gives the operator control of opening and closing breakers. And then it also tells them what's actually going on. It trends meters so that when we see like a spike in voltage or amperage, they're able to see it right there. It's a tool that we use every day, every hour, all the time. Unit 2 overhaul. This is a carryover phase 1. The carryover funds for this is the air coolers that had to be remanufactured. Those have been sent off. It's an 8-week lead time. I think we're on week 3 right now. So our goal is to get these air coolers back, get them back up on the unit, and get this unit up and running before their summer. And then the 12470 transformer conversion. We have one thing left to do on this. This is to bore the tracks. We have got the easement. We have Hartco lined up to do the bore. We're just waiting for the weather to break. And that'll be the last thing on there. We do have some areas we have to convert yet, but all the equipment is purchased and ready to go. I think that's it.
You were talking about the batteries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that a more efficient backup system than, say, a smaller generator just for, you know, I know the generator, they really progressed in what they can do now. Like a gas generator or a natural gas generator.
So so the batteries are 125 volt DC. That's what controls breakers closing back in and doing switching inside the power plant. There's a lot of times where if we were to have a generator, we would have to kick the generator on before we could actually do switching. This is automatic. Like, so it's on all the time. The battery, it's always on. And that's where the power comes for all the relays, the controls for the generators. So if we were to have just a generator, we'd have to turn that generator on before we turn another generator on. But we have 2 battery banks. We have one at Stewart Street substation and we have one at the power plant. And that's how we do our controlling and switching when we lose power. Or even if we don't, you know, a normal day, that's where the power comes from.
Just a note on the first one, we've had a lot of discussion on overhead wires and underground. And underground does go bad after so many years. So it doesn't solve everything. Because we've had discussion on that. And I just want to say that.
Yeah, and so the area in Richmond Hill, this is direct bury wire. So when they first started doing underground, they didn't put it in duct. So it's not something that you can just like pull out, put new wire in. It's direct bury. And last year, I think it was right around Memorial Day, we had part of that section actually went bad. And then we had to backfeed it from a different area. So now we don't have, normally what we like to do in the distribution system is create loops. So if a section goes bad, we're able to loop it from a different way. Right now, we're unable to do that.
What's the underground you're doing now? You're going to put that up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we don't do direct bury anymore.
Good. Country Manor mostly.
A Country Manor was direct bury. We replaced all that.
Capital update for the water. This year will be, the North Water Tower will be getting sandblasted and repainted. We'll be bringing documents back to council for starting that process in 2 weeks. Olivia Drive water main extension. We did the agreements with the developers and so forth. We wanted to loop the water main before we sold the property to the developer. So we're gonna go ahead. I did talk to Lauren on Friday. They actually do have all the design and we're hoping to have the IEPA permit submitted by next Friday. Our third one is wash and treat the exterior South Water Tower. Basically, it's simple. We'll hire a contractor. They'll power wash it and apply anti-mildew inhibitors to it. The Six Well Engineering, that is a carryover from last year. I believe it's roughly like $60,000 we have left over for the future development design that they're working on. I added a well exploration and drilling for the Six Well. Once when we get the engineering done, most likely we will have to go out and do some preliminary test drilling to see what the water quality is so we can start designing the water treatment process for the future. The Orange Street Service tie-ins replacement is a carryover from last year. We basically got the 2 blocks left that we'll be doing, and then we'll be omitting the 4-inch water main and adding the new fire hydrants off the 12-inch for fire protection. We'll continue that in the spring of 25, and then the retire of the 4-inch water main on Chicago Street, we pushed back a couple years. It's a lower priority, but it is one of the older water mains on Chicago Street that we'll be omitting and switching some services over. And then well 33 was started last year. Lauren is going to talk about this, I believe, next or on the cow meeting. We're just going to basically be outlining a timeline of what we think will come for this summer and try to get some timelines done of when hopefully we can have that well in service. We've had some issues with the contractor or delays and so forth that we want to talk about, make you aware of. For wastewater, we have phosphorus removal. So in our next, in our NPDES permit, our requirements for the new phosphorus limits will be 0.5 milligram per liter dose or limit for it. And we'll have to have that completed by January 1st of 2030. So we're working on design and best suitable applications for us of how we would achieve that new limit. Rehabilitation and sewer lining. We're going to work with IMEG. We have to get some documents prepared so we can go out for bids on that process. And then streets with Public Works. We'll have the annual street overlay, street milling that's on there. That'll probably start in July, the work again this year. Probably in the next month or so, we'll be getting our roads selected that will be overlaying and getting our estimates and everything compiled for IMEG for the Henry County Highway contract. North Street construction phase 1, we have to finish up, do some tree takedown. Hopefully we'll start work early spring. Hopefully probably in the next few weeks, we might have talks with the general contractor and see what we can forecast of when we'd be starting on that. Streetlight ADA update. So this is an IDOT bid letting they're doing. It'll come out motor fuel tax. They are doing ADA compliance work for pedestrian signals and sidewalks at the locations of State and Main, Oakwood, Maine, and US Highway 6 in Oakwood. I don't know the status of actually when that's going to fall, but we do have it in this year for potentially being done. And that is about it for Public Works.
2 questions.
Yeah.
You talked about the water tower on the north side. It's got 3 layers and it's due. Is that the normal policy that you apply it, then you apply it, then you apply it?
I could defer to the expert on the water towers.
Okay.
So it's used its useful life. It's got some blistering that, we can tool and paint, but it's most beneficial to start over right now, cost
No, but I mean,
effective.
is it policy, do they take it back down to Bear?
Yeah, because we have too many.
They apply something to it, then they apply something again, and then they apply something again. then
Yep,
they take
we
that,
have too
go back
many.
off and go back.
We have too many
Correct.
codes.
It goes by thickness. You can only put on
Mils.
so much thickness
No, I get that.
before you need to remove it.
Yep.
And we're kind of actually.
I just didn't know if they did that or if they strip it and then is it?
Yeah, so those
apply?
strip it. So you could have like full containment or partial containment, or else there's other methods out there of the way they strip the paint completely off down to bare metal.
Okay.
And then like there's other applications where you'd have to paint when it's tinted and you'd have to depend on the wind and,
Sure.
we want to try a different different way of doing it and so
Other
forth.
question I had is, it says well 6 that you're digging, you gotta do water testing, but didn't you test that already? You dug it? Or
No,
tapped
so
it, or
6
whatever
well
you
is
do?
the
It's under design.
future. It's under design.
Oh, so what's the one they just found or
That's
something
well,
else?
that's our 5th well. So the 6th well is like the water treatment, the water tower, and then the treatment facility.
Distribution.
Yeah, so it's our future we're working on for future demands and future growth and all that.
All right.
So. Anything else?
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Hi, Chief.
Hello. We have a new squad car that's ordered. There's no time frame on it. It will replace our last Ford Explorer that we have. That's one of the white colored ones that you guys see. Gray. Lunar Mist. Once that gets to the dealership, then it's going to go to Federal Signal. That's the people that will put in all the cool, fancy police equipment. We do have some items here that will need to be installed when we get it. Again, I have no clue when that's going to happen for sure. 2 flock cameras additional to the ones that we have already down by the interstate corridor. They've been ordered, approved, agreement made between me and the company. And they're going to work us into their schedule because they got a lot of these going up around the area. You guys probably see them if you're traveling the Quad Cities. So hopefully, I'm hoping for like a early spring date where they'll be able to get them in. They'll be on Route 6 west of town and Route 6 east of town. Goal would be I would like to get one additional one next year if we could get that budget for 82 North. Throwing that out there now. New office furniture. This is the where the FTOs have their field training office, and that's the 3 police officers that we have that are in charge of training the new hires. I think I talked about it before. This is where the old middle school equipment's sitting right now. So that's been designed, ordered, all that good stuff. Again, no arrival time. I know Gene had a quick meeting with the vendor, the rep from the vendor, and I'll let you guys know when that comes in. Other than that, that's all we got. Anybody got any questions? Thank you.
Okay, and then finally, we've talked about this project in the past couple of meetings, but the Richmond Hill Park stage. As you guys know, we approved the RFP proposal process. That's currently out there, posted right now, sent out to contractors. We'll be opening all received bids at the 225 meeting for that overhead stage structure. And then the pedestrian bridge at Oakwood Landing. We are awaiting notification of ITEP grant awards, which we should hear about in about a month to a month and a half timeframe on if we're going to be a recipient of a grant. And then we'll be discussing that project going to bid for a bridge installation, hopefully after that. That's it.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report and the capital assets reports is submitted.
Motion by Arnold,
Second.
second by Kennett. Roll call.
Arnold,
Yes.
Samowski,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Broodhouse.
Yes.
Rothschild.
Yes.
Kennett.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 9 would be the approval of meeting minutes. 9.1, minutes approval.
Yep. So again, this is an odd item for you guys to have on the agenda. There's no consent tonight because we took care of everything in the last meeting. So this is simply approving the minutes.
Motion to approve the January 14th, 2025 City Council, January 28th, 2025 Council Committee of the Whole, and January 28th, 2025. Special City Council meeting minutes is presented.
Motion by Arnold,
Second.
second by Swanson. Roll call.
Rothschild.
Yes.
Kennett.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Broodhouse.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Samowski.
Yes.
Arnold.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 10, under administration, 10.1 would be the temporary public art installation presentation by artist Jamie Sullivan. Welcome.
Thank you.
So quick intro. So this is Jamie Sullivan, who's been patiently awaiting, local artist. So Jamie is going to talk about all this, but in summary, quickly, what the intent here is tonight. She's received a grant through the state of Illinois to do public art sculptures throughout the city. There's funding for 6 sculptures. And why this is in front of the council is tonight is Jamie would like to place 2 of these sculptures on city property. And so to do that, the council needs to be comfortable with the concepts that she's going to talk about tonight. And then we will look at entering into an agreement with Jamie for the placement of these temporary art installations on city grounds. So with that, we'll, to Mr. Price.
Mayor, it actually goes farther than that. In order to not create a public forum where any artist can come forward and say, now it's my turn and I get to put this on there. You have to actually accept what the artist does as your government speech, that this is a image, a work that as part of our mission for improving the morale of the community, we want to display on our land. So it's a little bit more than, blessing what it is the artist wants to do. You actually have to, the agreement will be, we're accepting it and making it a presentation, official act of the city for a determined time on our property. So be advised, this isn't just granting permission for somebody to come and display. It's got to be the city of Geneseo's speech, the government speech doctrine.
That was your turn.
I don't know where
I
it's
have I have a slide deck.
He's not in there? Oh.
Is it down there? It's a PowerPoint. Hey, there we go.
Do you want it like presenting?
Yeah, that'd be great. Can you go to slideshow?
Actually, I can see that.
So right under Geneseo City, yep, slideshow, and then from beginning. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for the introduction and going through some of the details before I jump into it. Squished up a little bit. So I'm Jamie Sullivan. I'm a multidisciplinary mixed media artist. And I'm the creative force behind Trey Bella Art. So if you see that around town, that's me. I started as an artist in September of 2019 doing painting. And since then, I've kind of been exploring into sculpture. So in October of 2024, the Illinois Arts Council granted me some money, some funding to do a sculpture project. And I've been in Geneseo since 2016. I love the arts community here. And I thought, wouldn't it be fantastic to bring that, to use that funding to help drive some tourism and some excitement into the city of Geneseo by engaging through sculpture. So I'll be using my funding basically to blend technology and art together under a project called #SeekingSculpture. And the idea is to offer a fresh perspective on a public art engagement. So Seeking Sculpture, basically they're providing to me the funding for materials, equipment, and professional development through the Illinois Arts Council. And in exchange, I'm producing 6 pieces of work in wood, stone, and metal mixed media for temporary display in Geneseo, starting in February and going through the end of the year. But the last piece will be placed in July. You might be wondering, what are we talking about? What are we agreeing to dimension-wise? The smallest piece, 1 foot cube. On the biggest side, we're talking 3 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot, roughly. So this project is about using technology to drive and track engagement and to bring people to the city to engage with art. As part of the project, I'm really kind of learning about how to do public art engagements, meeting with some great people in the city, and just kind of on this journey to discover how to do public art engagements. So technology driving this, the idea there, and this is kind of important as we get to some of the concepts and where they're going to be later, hopefully, is geocaching. So geocaching is basically a treasure hunting game using a GPS-enabled device. And all of these pieces have a geocache element to it. That's important because it helps to encourage public engagement and it helps to drive foot traffic. So we're blending technology and art. People who use geocaching are getting something on their devices saying, hey, there's a new geocache available in Geneseo, and it's bringing them to the city to see the sculptures, to engage with the sculptures, and then to interact with the city further while they're here. So overall concepts, these are not the concepts that I'm presenting to you for the 2 specific pieces, but overall concepts here are really to tell a story of evolution, renewal, power of creativity, and uplifting. So you see some phoenix, some rocks, some books, some musical elements. We're talking about kind of real uplifting and positive concepts here. But I do want to point out that these concepts are just representation of themes, not final designs for any one piece. Because for me, it took me 5 years to become confident and develop a style in painting. And I've been doing this sculpture thing since October. From purchasing equipment to learning how to work with materials and all of the things involved in it. That started in October. So really, I'm seeking to learn and create a style in these mediums as I go forward based on these ideas. So the first sculpture happened. It happened and it's currently placed at the Geneseo Library. That's a picture of it. It's just kind of a little guy. It's about 2.5 feet tall, but you can go over there and see it if you're curious at the book drop, or even pull up geocaching.com to see what that engagement might look like. So I'm showing you that because Sculpture 1 met its goals. First was to create a stone sculpture, and this has 3 different types of stone, and it met the installation deadline. Second was to set up a geocache. Geocaching.com is the site I'm working with on this. And my first geocache did go live at 10 a.m. on the 3rd, so Monday, a couple Mondays ago. And the best thing ever happened to me as an artist with this project, because 1.5 hours later, my email went ding, and the first couple came from outside of Geneseo. They saw the geocache went live at 10 a.m. At 11:45, they posted to the log and said, hey, we came to Geneseo, we were the first to find it. And they engaged and left a really thoughtful comment. So it worked, they came. The second one happened the following weekend. I've already had a second person or group of people here engaging with the sculpture. So the idea, is working. It's bringing people here. If they're going to come here and they're going to see a sculpture, they're not going to drive into town, check out the sculpture and leave. They're probably going to visit some of our cafes. They're going to walk around, see the parks. And I've already invited them both back to come as I release sculptures month by month through July. So they're excited and they're ready, hoping to be the first to find the next one. So that brings us on to why I'm here and what I'm asking for you today. Brandon gave you the nice preview, so thank you. I'm here tonight requesting the approval for the temporary placement of 2 sculptures on city property based on the concepts I'm going to show you on the next 2 slides. It is acknowledging that this is a city act of speech, so you're agreeing that the concepts are in alignment with what you want to say. I hope they are. But the great news is it's going to help to drive tourism and foot traffic and allow people to engage with art. We have a really active art community here in this town. It also allows you guys the opportunity to consider what the future of sculpture could look like in Geneseo at really low risk to you and at no cost. Sculptures are being created as part of the funding for the project. I'm placing them and supplying everything involved with that, including the insurance. So it's really kind of a win-win, I hope. So I hope you're curious to see what these sculptures are, what these ideas are. Here's the first one. Concept 1, potential location, a prominent paved concrete location. And with that, I'm looking at putting together stone, steel, and wood, so a full mixed media piece. The cube you're looking at is the foundation or the base for the piece, with elements of steel and stone coming up off of it. The idea is more abstract and geometric and minimalist, and it's contrasting the warmth of the wood with kind of the more abstract and harsh shapes of what hopefully evokes to you the image of a maple leaf. Also some leaves and feathers, and the idea is strength, endurance, and looking at the connection between the man-made objects and nature. All the pieces will have a physical logbook. That's part of the geocaching thing. So there's a place that people can actually say like, hey, I was here, whether they walk up to it or they can do it digitally if they find it through the geocache log. So this is the concept for the first piece on a concrete paved location because the wood will be heavy enough and will not damage the concrete pavement. Okay.
So where's the location?
Right. So several location ideas have been discussed, but the final location will be worked out hopefully with city staff really addressing kind of both accessibility and any safety concerns. Because we're talking about people walking up and being able to interact with them. We want to make sure that we have proper clearance and crosswalks. And there's been a few different locations that have been kind of thrown around as potential. Well, goodness, I hope not. Yeah, so the first piece, if I had to hazard a guess, is probably around 150 to 200 pounds. It's a piece of granite. I mean, I'm putting them in place, so the components have to be light enough for me to be able to move them and manipulate them by myself or with a small group. But I do put them together at locations. So this would be in several pieces and then final assembled in the location. The piece of wood that I'm working with right now that was likely to be that is about 250 pounds. So we're talking like a nice solid tree stump. It's not light. Someone's not gonna, I don't think, pick it up, but I could be wrong. That would be public art engagement, right? If they picked it up and moved it and took it with them.
So this isn't the final design. So that's what it's gonna look like, or we're not sure what that's what it's gonna look like?
So the goal is for it to look very similar to the bottom right piece on top of a wooden pedestal carved out of a tree trunk. On top of the cube. That's the concept. Now, like I said, I'm new to working with all of this media. So, we'll see what happens. But what I'm committing to as far as concept wise is it will look roughly the shape of a maple leaf with elements of feathers and blocks. No shocking surprises as far as the content.
No, I get that, but I just want to make sure that someone walks up to it, they can say, oh, maybe that's a maple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, or something like that. I mean, there'll be no description or no panel on it or anything like that, right? It'll just be
So the geocache actually does afford the opportunity to have the description, and that can also be added into the logbook. And the logbook's just a real small waterproof paper notebook that you can write in with a Sharpie, and it's waterproof paper. But it's a great point, and it's something that I'm certainly open to kind of exploring further as I progress in through the six sculptures. But putting, a QR code on there is something that I can do as part of a geocache that would then pull up and say, hey, here's the name of it. I didn't intend to put a plaque on it or anything like that.
No, I guess my question is, if this is a message from the city.
Right.
And I don't have a final design, it's like, okay, we need to approve this speech, but I haven't written it yet. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, what am I approving? I guess. I'm leaving that up to you, but that's public speech, it's what, I guess.
We're narrowing in on concepts. The final agreement will have to come here, so.
So it still has to come back to here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just approving the spot tonight for it or whatever.
The concepts.
The concept of working out the details for final approval.
And when will that happen?
So the suggested motion on the agenda reflects what we're asking tonight, which is that as an act of speech, you're comfortable with this general concept. We have blanks in that draft agreement because after we're comfortable with the general concept tonight, we'll then work with Jamie to develop where these could be placed best on public grounds and then come back to you with the final agreement for approval.
Okay. I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. Concept number 2. Next. Concept number 2, proposed location for this is a space at City Park. This one, a target time frame would be in early June prior to Music Fest happening. The concept on this one is more figurative, less abstract, and it's to have a grouping of standalone pieces in wood, metal, and stone ranging from 2 to 4 feet tall. Noting the edges would be rounded in consideration of safety. No one's going to fall on them and get harmed. The idea here is to evoke the feeling of kind of a sapling breaking through the soil, personal enlightenment, growth, this idea of adding some musical elements to convey harmony. So these ones would be basically coming up out of the ground. And that's really all I have. So I just thank you for your time and your engagement on the project. If you have any questions, you know, I'm of course available to answer them here tonight or in the future.
Anybody have any questions? Further discussion? I don't know who to ask. Well, it's all up in the air, so I don't.
There is a suggested motion.
It's the balance between final design and then the expression of art.
And we can ask Jamie, again, we can work together as we look at these locations and these concepts from tonight and probably do some more, a little bit of additional rendering on what it could look like at that location maybe, and some other things to bring back with that final contract.
I think
So when you do a sculpture, do you draw it first, or do you just look at it and go, you know, I don't know, I'm not.
Yeah, it does depend on the media. So in the case of metal, I don't want to just kind of be playing with metal and cutting it organically and then welding it. So in that case, I'm creating templates, say out of poster board, and then gluing them together and figuring that out so that I can disassemble it and then use that as a stencil and then reassemble those pieces. That's very different than working with, say, stone that has veining and is more organic. Once it's gone, you can't put it back, right? So it's a little bit different. You start with some ideas, but sometimes the material kind of takes you on a journey. And that's where, you know, I may start out with a certain small piece of stone that would be put into the maple leaf. And as I'm carving it, start thinking it's going to be a cube. Well, no, maybe it's going to be more egg shaped. You know, does that make a difference, you know, in terms of speech? If it's a sphere versus a cube in that piece, I think is kind of the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know how to answer that. I don't-
Sure.
You know, I mean, what is it? Once again, this is about speech, right? This is what we're.
Yeah, I think it's, at the end of the day, it's artwork. So the artist is going to take some liberties in the final design and a painting, a sculpture, whatever it is. We're giving direction on the overall speech act of the design. So we're providing renderings and the concept, you know, every color palette may not be the same as the rendering.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, if somebody comes up with a mural, they showed me an idea. Was it the final design? No, but it was an idea.
Right.
Something that this is where we want to go with it. This is kind of that way, but it's kind of not that way. This is what I want to do, but I may end up making, you know, I see a maple leaf, but I could end up making an oak leaf. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I'm kind of concerned about or curious about. I just want to, because we're sending the message, maybe I'm just.
No, I understand your pause, I guess. Yeah. I agree.
That's not the final rendering. That's not, yes.
But,
that's what I
but it's,
saw.
I think it's ballpark close though. You know,
that's what I would.
We have-
Yeah.
ballpark close, but it's not exact.
The final agreement comes back
Yeah.
with the final design. I don't know what more to say.
Right.
Oh, no.
That's the art part.
Oh, no.
Are all of them gonna do the geocaching?
Yeah, they are.
Have you had any come to the library?
Yeah, I've had two. So that's where the first one, it went live at 10 a.m. and at 11:45, the first group of the
So
first
is there a
people.
goal for the number of geocaching we do? I mean, I know it's big in a lot of cities.
Mhm.
And I've heard it other places, but I didn't, is it like I need 2,000 hits or I need whatever, or is it, I mean, you'll track that obviously, but.
It's something I'm tracking out of curiosity. There's nothing as part of the grant that says I have to reach a certain level of engagement. I just thought, wouldn't it be a neat idea to help bring people, foot traffic and
No, I think
tourism
it's a good
into the
idea. I just
city
didn't-
that
I
way?
just don't-
Yeah,
Has another community done this kind of thing
No,
where they put?
not that I'm aware of.
geocaching in?
not that I'm aware of. I mean, there's geocaches, there's about 12 around the city of Geneseo, but they're not connected to sculpture. They're a traditional geocache. It's just a traditional treasure hunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
February is gonna probably tough too. The weather's a little better.
Yeah, Hopefully it'll gain some momentum, and once there's multiple pieces, people will be going from one to the next, right? Kind of taking a tour around town. Be neat if it kind of connects into the murals and people, seeing art and engaging with art in different ways. So.
Mhm. Well, I'd make a motion to direct city staff to work with Ms. Sullivan on location determination for the 2 presented sculpture concepts and to bring a final contract for temporary installation of public art back to the council for approval consideration on 2/25/25.
Motion by Kennett.
Second.
Second by Rothschild. Mr. Roll call.
Arnold,
Yeah, I guess, I suppose. I don't know. Can I abstain?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Mhm.
you can.
I just don't know. I don't
And
know what I'm
abstain.
agreeing on.
Pick one.
Pick one.
Oh,
Okay. Samowski,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Broodhouse,
Yeah.
Swanson,
Yes.
Kennett,
Yes.
Rothschild.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
10.2 under administration would be the, or R-25-02, the resolution for specific carryover funds for the projects continuing into 2025.
So this is a resolution that we do every year for any project that's continuing on into a new fiscal year. We won't recap the projects again. The department directors went through the projects that are continuing. These numbers reflect the budgeted dollars that are carrying over to 2025 to get these projects done.
So you're just basically moving them from one budget to another.
Right.
Motion to approve R-2502, approving specific carryover expense from fiscal year 24 to 25 for city projects continuing into the year 2025.
Motion by Arnold. Second by Roothouse. Roll call.
Rothschild,
Yes.
Kennett,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Roodhouse,
Yeah.
James.
Yes.
Samowski,
Yes.
Arnold.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. 10.3 under administration, O-25-03, the redevelopment agreement between the city of Geneseo and Today's Builders.
Okay, so back in October, the council approved the purchase and sale agreement with Today's Builders for the 2 parcels of land across the street here on First Street. We call them the old water department lots, vacant lots. Today's Builders has been within that agreement. It authorized the city attorney and myself to work on the additional documents needed to work towards the close of the sale, one being a redevelopment agreement with Today's Builders. And over the past couple of months, we've been working with them on nailing down this redevelopment agreement. It's necessary to have this. It provides assurances for the city and Today's Builders and protections for us to make sure that these projects that you guys approved through their proposals will actually get done. And so we have that completed. Jeremy with Today's Builders has agreed to the terms of this agreement that we have on the agenda for you guys tonight. Some of the highlights of the redevelopment agreement, we really split this into 2 different projects because it's 2 different lots, 2 different phases. They're going to tackle the Today's Builders headquarters building. That's the easternmost parcel on First Street first. So within 1 year, they have to have their construction schedule and permitting done, have that project substantially complete within 3 years. And then the commercial strip mall building on the westernmost parcel here will be the second project. It's a larger project. And within 4 years, we have to have the construction schedule done and the permitting, and then 10 years for substantial completion on that one. We did put a reverter clause into this contract, so if they were to fail to complete any of these things and didn't start on the lot, the properties would revert back to the city, and they would still be gravel lots at that point. And then from a city standpoint, we've agreed to make sure that they have proper water and sewer service to the property line of these buildings. Those are kind of the highlights and the terms off a standard template in the agreement.
So how do we define substantially completed?
Used for its intended purpose. Not all the final bushes have to be in, but it's being used for the intended purpose.
So then it's more than gravel lot.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what he said. He said
No, he
it goes
said it
back
would
No,
be
if they
reversed
don't.
back to us.
after 10 years, it refers back to us, which will probably still be a gravel lot at that time. That's what he said. That's why I'm
No,
asking.
he didn't say that.
What'd he say?
But I think he was
He's being a little
a
sarcastic.
little, yes, thank you, a little sarcasm about the fact that it would go back to being a gravel lot, very much like it has been for so long in the event.
In the event that they don't follow through.
Correct.
If they don't start the project and the lot sits there after this time period, it would revert back to the city. And it would still be a gravel lot.
And do they lose both properties if they develop one and not the other, or do they just develop whatever they didn't develop, they lose?
Well, we wouldn't take back something.
There's a supply of subdivision, and if they didn't develop phase two, we'd probably take phase two.
Motion to approve 02503.
Motion by Arnold,
Second.
second by Swanson, roll call.
Arnold,
Sure, yes.
Samowski,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Roothouse.
Yeah.
Swanson,
Yes.
Kennett,
Yes.
Rothschild.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 11 would be the payment of city and utility bills.
I only have one. I'm assuming, the trucking and excavating, is that like the final payment, Jane?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What's that up?
Yes.
Third payment.
Oh, that's the third payment for the portion,
Your street. and-
for the portion that they've completed
No,
today.
that's the other project. That would be Oakwood and North Street. So that job is totally complete, correct, Jeff?
Yes. They have some landscaping that they gave us in a email confirming that they will be back to complete the landscaping in the spring.
State Street was Langman Construction,
Oh, okay.
different contractor.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry.
No problem.
That's
Anything
it.
else?
Motion to
Sorry,
approve
it
the
was
city
just
bills as
one.
presented.
Motion by Arnold, second by Roothouse, roll call.
Kennett,
Yes.
Roothouse.
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Rothschild.
Yes.
Samowski.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Nope, we're good.
Item number 12 would be public comment related to all of their items. City ordinance allows members of the public to speak and give input up to 3 minutes. During public comment, there can be no debate or action by the city council at that time.
I just want to make a comment. I think the department reports were better this time.
Yes.
A lot better.
And you introduce somebody to you guys? Sure. Come on up.
The Chief Distroff, I'd like to introduce Chief Distroff.
Thank you, Chief Casey Distroff. This, you guys know him? Yeah, this is Cooper Reese. He is in our student learner program, and he is a senior at high school who's very interested in law enforcement. So he's joining with us a few hours a day throughout the school week, and we're showing him the ropes, and hopefully he's learning a lot. He's doing some great academic works for us too, so we're getting that educational component involved in it too.
Does he get credits towards something for it?
Yeah, you can go ahead and talk.
So I'm in a workplace experience class. It counts for a consumer ed credit. And basically you're supposed to work a job related to your intended career path, job or internship. So we worked with Chief Disterhoff to make this count for it, and I'm learning towards my intended career path.
Casey, is he allowed to ride on the squad cars?
He can.
Okay.
That hasn't happened yet. We'll see when the weather breaks. We'll see what happens. Hayden Schaff's on the back. He is going to be a senior next year, and will probably be interested in this program.
Oh.
Sorry, sorry, Verizon.
No pressure.
No pressure, right?
No pressure. Just relax.
See you next year. Sorry. There's too many Haydens.
Well, that's great. Excellent. And,
Awesome.
enjoy your time with the department, and I hope you get out of it what you're looking for.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
I
Motion to
guess-
adjourn.
Oh, hold on a minute. Ann,
Sorry.
I like to check with Ann.
Ah,
Anybody that comes to every meeting and is that dedicated?
when is
deserves
Ann's
to be-
appreciation day?
we need a
Just
few more
curious.
years of service at council here, so.
Just curious.
Okay, so without that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Already did motion to adjourn.
Motion by Arnold. Second by Roothouse. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.
What?